Today in Capechi's Corner, we're going to look at graphing linear functions. Okay, so a linear function is a line. Do you see the word line in there? That means it's a line. So the first example says graph the linear function, and we have negative 2x minus 3 equals y by making a table of values. Now, for the sake of time with the video, I have completed the table already for you on plotted points. But again, if you want to try this on your own at any of the examples, you can always pause it, do your work, and then check my results, okay? All right, let's get started. So we have a table. Here's our equation. So now all we're going to do is we're going to substitute some x values in to see what our y value is. So the first I'm going to start with is negative 2. So I have negative 2. I get to an x, it's like a stop sign. Instead of writing x, I'm going to get the value that we picked for x, which is negative 2, minus 3 is equal to y. So negative 2 times negative 2 gives me positive 4, minus 3 is equal to y, so 1 is equal to y, which is what we have right there. All right, let's try another one. Same thing, y is equal to negative 2. Again, I have my x. I'm going to substitute in negative 1 minus 3, which gives me 2 minus 3, which equals negative 1. Okay, now I have plotted all those points. When we know it's a function and we know it's a linear function, we know that our values should make a line. So when you plot the points, if it doesn't look like it's going to be a line, then you should go back and look at your table and see where your mistake is. Okay, so now I'm just going to connect my points. And then I'm always going to draw arrows at the end, right? Because functions or lines, they're continuous. So they're going to go on in each direction. All right, let's look at the next one. This one has a fraction. So that's a little tricky. Now, again, we can always use decimals when we're graphing. We just have to estimate. But what I did instead was I knew that I was going to take here. We have 1/4, which is a slope, times x. So what I did was I just picked values for x that was going to make my life easier. So I picked values that would be multiples of 4, right? So for instance, this first one, I have y is equal to 1/4 times negative 8 plus 3. All right, this is really a numerator, so I can cross cancel this. 4 goes into 4 once and to 8 2 times. So that gives me negative 2 plus 3, which gives me 1. So that's going to be my value here. I just like to do that. Just makes it a little easier because I'm dealing with integers. And then on top of it, I don't really need my calculator. Okay, and the next value I have y is equal to 1/4, this time times negative 4 plus 3. Well, again, this will cross cancel. That gives me negative 1 plus 3, which gives me positive 2. Okay, so let's just look at the graphing of this one. So my x value is 8. So I went over 8, and then I went up 5. And that's the same thing. Here's my y-intercept 0 and is up 3. So that's how the table works when you're plotting points. Again, I'm going to draw a line, arrows on the end, and then I'm all set. All right, let's look at the next example. Now, this time it's a little bit different because we don't have a slope involved. This is going to be our horizontal line. Now, I know that we use it with my kids a lot. This Vuxhoy. So the V stands for it's a vertical line. Vertical line. It's an undefined slope. And the equation is x is equal to a number. That's how we know it's a vertical line. What we have here is a hoy, right? Because we have a y equals. That's a horizontal line. And we have 0 as a slope. And our equation would be y is equal to a number. So that I know off the bat that it's going to be a horizontal line. So what that means is if I'm using tables, if I substitute x into any of these values, there is no x there, right? So it doesn't matter what numbers I have for x. My y value is going to be 5 because that's part of the equation. So what that means is at negative 2, I'm going to go up to 5. At negative 1, I'm going up to 5. 0 is 5, right? So all these. So again, I have a horizontal line where y is 5. All values are 5 at that horizontal line. All right, let's look at the next one. This is the opposite, right? This x would be a Vux, right? Because of the this x and that x. So I know this is going to be a vertical line. So this time the same thing is going to go through. It doesn't matter what values I give for y. My x value is always going to be negative 2 because of that equation. Right? So I can go negative 2, y is negative 2. I can go negative 2 and y is negative 1 and 0 and 1, 2, same thing. So again, I draw my line, and x is going to be at negative 2. So I'm going to have a vertical line right through negative 2, wherever x is. All right, let's take a look at our example where we have a word problem now. Okay, it says the math taxi company charges initial $5 for pickup. So that's important. And then $2 for each mile while driving to the destination. Write an equation that represents your total cost, which is y. So they tell us that our total cost is going to be y. So that's going to be our total cost. And x is going to be the number of miles. So I'm going to put that over here. X is equal to the number of miles. All right, so let's interpret this. We see a lot of word problems like this. So it says the initial fee is $5. So what that means is as soon as you get in the taxi, it doesn't matter if you're going for 1 mile or 100 miles, you're going to pay that $5. That's going to be your constant. Doesn't matter how many miles. And then $2 for each mile. That's $2. Now each mile we said over here is going to be x. So there's our equation. Y is equal to 2x plus 5. So again, we can substitute this in. Now here we have, how did I know what values to use? I have constraint of x has to be greater than or equal to 0 because we can't have negative miles, right? So even in this, we could have just used the first quadrant. We didn't really need the other 3 quadrants. So when I substitute in 0, I have y is equal to 2 times 0 plus 5. So y is equal to 5, right? That's our y-intercept because we talked about no matter what, you're going to start at 5. You're paying 5 no matter what. Now, if you go 1 mile, it's going to be 2 times 1 plus 5, right? So it's going to be $2 for the miles plus that initial 5. So that's going to be 7. Okay. So again, I looked here and graphed my line. I plotted my points. So I'm ready to graph my line. Now, the one thing that's different about this is I'm going to connect my points, but I'm only going to draw an arrow on that side. I'm not going to draw an arrow on this end because no arrow, because of the fact that we said no negative miles. If that kept going, then it would mean my miles would be negative over here. And we know we can't have that in this particular word problem, in this particular situation. Okay, thanks so much for stopping by today. Have a great day.